Biggles clambered onto the wing of the waiting Jupiter and lowered himself into the cockpit. "Weather looks dicey," observed Ginger dryly.
"The sooner we get off the better," murmured Algy. "I'd rather see this bally fog from the topsides."
"Shut up, the pair of you!" snapped Biggles, "and hand me the substances."
"Oh, you're not going to smoke, are you, Biggles?" queried Algy.
"It's such a bally awful smell," added Ginger ruefully. Biggles took some resin from the first aid kit and, working away with his penknife, soon had enough to fill a generous joint. He lit up briskly and, slamming the Jupiter into full throttle, taxied into the drifting mist, through the hangar, the hospital, the officers' canteen, the parking lot, a social centre, a model agency, and an art book publisher's delivery depot. Suddenly, they were airborne. Algy breathed a sigh of relief and eased himself out of the co-pilot's seat.
"Oh, it's so hot in here,"
Algy declared evenly. He began to unzip his flying jacket and soon stood naked in the faint glow of the altimeter. Ginger blushed hotly. Algy returned his blush, curtly. Biggles also turned red and blushed and threw the twin-engined Jupiter into a tight turn over the airfield.
"Does my body offend you, Biggles?"
queried Algy sharply. Biggles said nothing. His drug-ravaged features showed no glimmer of emotion. His lips were set. His dilated pupils looked neither left nor right. His hands gripped the joystick. Suddenly, out of the clouds and directly ahead of them, Ginger glimpsed the red flash of the Henkel fighter.
"Look, it's von Richthofen!" he cried excitedly.
"Get your clothes on, Algy!" murmured Biggles curtly.
"Shan't!" returned Algy teasingly. "He's coming at us out of the sun!" yelled Ginger anxiously.
"Put your bloody trousers on, Algy!" repeated Biggles grimly. But it was too late. Von Richthofen came nearer and nearer. Soon he was in the cockpit.
"My God, we're done for!" screamed Ginger. "Aha! Already are we!" shouted von Richthofen, tearing off his flying suit. Soon the little Jupiter monoplane
and of course, because of the filament is really is something that solidifies quickly. You can imagine that a solid part like that was just impossible to remove. I mean that the printer was doing his internal job like that, and suddenly here a bubble appeared. So the nozzle shits out some bubbles. You see, it's strange because everything was going right, and this bubble just fucked up the entire statue because you couldn't continue anything. There was a kind of a scratching phenomenon here each time the print head had to work. This is scratching, and the statue was stable, but it started to move like that, and it fall. And this is a waste of PLA filament. You can see that it needs a lot of filament, internal filament, to make it solid. And I'm really disappointed about this. I don't know if this is the PLA filament that is junk, see, or I don't know if it comes from a problem of temperature. Maybe the temperature is too high, so maybe it generates some this kind of bubble popping, or the temperature is too low. This could be the opposite. And finally, I don't know how or why, but it's impossible to build a big object with to be ensured that those objects will be built in the end. Because the problem is the printer is printing things, but it can be a 1 hour or 2 hour process, and sometimes you cannot stop at the right time the printer and remove those kind of mistakes. So this is a true problem. The printer is taking a lot of time to make its work, and you get to immediately stop the printer. You get to immediately pause the printer when you see that there is a kind of a bubble, a strange bubble like that. Remove it really quickly before it becomes too solid, and then resume the printer. But you can't do it all the time, because sometimes the printer takes 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours to make something. You cannot all the time check if everything is right. This is a bit bothering, and I think that I will have to make more tests with more different temperatures, more different kinds of filaments, more tests to determine precisely which is the temperature that is more adapted to this filament, because maybe 225 degrees it's not the right one. Maybe it's lower, or maybe it's higher. I don't know. But well, it's pretty good looking.
So here is another object I'm actually building, and it's a good looking statue of a woman, as you can see, and I think that this way of building objects and statues is a very good idea, because when there's not really a good amount of PLA filament in your when you get not enough PLA filament, this kind of hollow object is the ideal method to finish your objects, but without wasting PLA filament. And by the way, this is a pretty good looking object. Sometimes I had to take it like that with my hand. This is a nasty method, because there was here some kind of friction, and I was afraid that the friction could stop or could make the building of the object fail. So I decided to touch it like that, you see, so that it can maintain the statue at the right position. Oh, sorry, like that. It's better like that. And by the way, it looks stable. It looks stable.
I'm very pleased about this statue, because this time it is achieved. As you can see, it's been done until the end, and but it wasn't that easy. First of all, I've decided to use this kind of 3D object because I was really bothered to see that each time the printer has problems, and each time an object was fucked up, a few more meters of PLA filament was just wasted. So I decided to take a hollow object like that. So then I said to myself, well, even if it doesn't work, at last you can say that it wasn't a waste of filament. This is a good idea to make hollow object, but those hollow objects will be more fragile. I must say that I had to be very careful during the process, because this object is fragile and this object is very high. So this is not a pyramid, and the stability of the object was often compromised. So I had to take the object like that, Sorry, excuse me, madam, but I had to take the object like that because the printer, friction of the printer head just shaked the statue, and I had to be very careful with this one. Otherwise, it would have be fucked up like the other ones. So I had to take it with my hand during the process and to make it more stable.
I would not want to see this guy in a dark alley. So my encounter of the week features my least favorite monster. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your party, they just walked in, and your party has to be really strong. Level 10, 15, 20, high level creatures. High level party. So what you're going to do is you're going to get a number of dire rats. And if you know anything about dire rats, their challenge rating is very low. They're very weak monsters. But what you're going to do is in this dungeon, all of the rats in the dungeon are carrying a disease. And the disease should be something really, really debilitating and something that you made up on your own. So this way, the only cure for the disease is at the end of the dungeon because the main big bad guy has it. And what you're going to do is, throughout the entire dungeon, the players are just going to keep encountering these dire rats. And they're really weak, and sometimes they'll encounter 2. These are my stand-ins. Sometimes they'll encounter 5. Sometimes they'll encounter 9. So, for instance, right here in this scenario, the players have to decide whether they're going to go left or right. And what I did was I just had a whole bunch of rats come in behind them, and the players basically had to rush their choice. And if you know anything about D&D players, they overthink every single decision. What you can even do is, what I also did, is since I told them I only have a few of these dire rat tokens, all of these dice are dire rats. And I literally just went like this. And there were dire rats everywhere. The wizard was blowing them away. The fighter was like chopping them. It was really awesome because they were really scared. And they really had to take very, very good care not to get bitten by these really, really weak, really, really low level monsters. The disease that I came with was, depending on where the players got bit, they would basically lose that part of their body. So if they got bit in the leg, they would not be able to use their leg. It'd be numb. And they would take a penalty to their attack rolls and to their speed. If they got bit in the arm, they couldn't use that arm, so they could not use two-hand weapons, and they couldn't dual wield or couldn't use bows. And if they got bitten in the torso, that would infect their head, and their mental scores would all drop to 1. So you would not be able to, basically you'd lose all your spell casting. So it wasn't even that you had to not get bitten, you just had to not get bitten in a place that would really, really be crippling to you. So again, the point of this encounter is that it lasts throughout the entire dungeon, and that the players are all scared of a really, really low-level monster. What you can also do